students, let's go on to the last type of transformation of sentences, and that is from affirmative to negative and vice versa, meaning from negative to affirmative. Now, first and foremost, let's understand what is affirmative and what is negative. Let's take a look at assertive sentences. We have already done the different types of sentences, and we saw that the structure of an assertive sentence is subject plus verb plus ... meaning you could put any other part of speech there, and it ends with a full stop. Now, it is a statement or a declaration where you're just mentioning something. No question, no exclamation, no command. So that is assertive. Now, students, an assertive sentence can be of two types. That means there could be two types of assertive sentences, and that is affirmative and negative. Now, what do we mean by that? An affirmative sentence is a sentence without any negative word. So a negative sentence is obviously a sentence with negative words. Now, what are negative words? Words like no, not, none, never, nothing, and neither nor. So the negative words starting with no and then different versions of it, these are negative words, and whenever there is any of those negative words, it becomes a negative sentence. Example, she dances well. Here, none of those negative words are there, so it's an affirmative sentence. And if you look at this, he did not take the books. You can see there the word did not, and that's a negative word, so it's a negative sentence. Students, we are now going to look at how to change from affirmative to negative. Now, when we transform a sentence from affirmative to negative, we have to add negative words. Remember, affirmative, no negative words, but a negative sentence must have a negative word. So when we change, we transform, we add the negative word. But students, we should remember not to change the meaning. So let's see some different methods of doing it. And once again, let me remind you, negative words, no, not, none, never, nothing, neither, nor. Okay? We have to use one of these in order to create or transform from an affirmative to a negative sentence. Now, there are many ways to change a sentence from affirmative to negative. Let us take a look at each one of them. These are some of the methods. Using an opposite word with a negative word. So, I lost the key. Now, how do I write this? I did not find the key. What have we done, students? We have used the opposite of lost, that is find, and then we used a negative word, did not. Now, why do we use the negative word, students? Because the meaning should not change. So that's how we write, I did not find the key. Because if I say lost, the opposite word is find. If I say I found the key, the meaning has changed. So remember, the meaning shouldn't change. Use an opposite with a negative. Next one, remove the prefix or the suffix and add a negative word. I disagree with you. Students, here, disagree. The word has a prefix over there, that is dis. Here, we remove the prefix dis from the word disagree and we use a negative word. So, I disagree with you will become I do not agree with you. We have used a negative word there, and of course we remove the dis and we use agree. This is one method. Now let's see with the suffix. She is careless about her work. Now here, students, the word careless has a suffix less. Okay, adding less to the word care becomes careless. So we remove the less from here and we use a negative word does not to maintain the same meaning, and therefore we say she does not care about her work. Okay, so students, we have seen using the opposite, then we remove the suffix and we remove the prefix. Now let's see, what do we do? Use never fails to in place of always. Always does something, never fails to do something. Let's take an example. Radhika always reaches office in time. Now, here we can't use a negative and an opposite word, students. Okay, so we use a negative and we use fails to. So we will say Radhika never fails to reach office in time. So that is how we use never fails to. Use not allowed in place of prohibited or forbidden. Now, she was forbidden to meet him. Here again, we will use the opposite, that is allowed, and then we will use a negative word. She was not allowed to meet him. Students, there are many methods. These are some tips. If you remember this and you see a sentence and you remember these tips, then you can immediately transform. So, here, next one. Use none but or nothing but in place of only. This is the only thing I want. Here I will say I want nothing but this thing. So here we are using nothing but in place of only. Okay. Next one. Use no in place of without. Let's take an example. He was without any money. Simple. Just use a no. He had no money. So we have used no in place of without and we have made it negative without changing the meaning. Now students, change of degree. This is one more method you can use to change from affirmative to negative. Let's see. If the given affirmative sentence has used a degree of comparison, then change the degree automatically. Of course, there will be a negative word there and you can change from affirmative to negative. So look at this. Ram is taller than Shyam. Now, what have we done here? We have used a comparative degree, taller than. Now we will change it to positive, as tall as. Of course, adding a negative so that the meaning doesn't change and it becomes a negative sentence at the same time. So, Shyam is not as tall as Ram. Okay, here we have made it negative by using change of degree. Now students, the following transformations can also be used. First one, no sooner ... than. Students, if you remember, we have done each one of these. As you see them, we have done them as a separate module in transformation of sentences. I'll just quickly run through it with an example. When he had eaten, he slept. Two different actions, one after the other. We can use no sooner ... than. Here, no sooner had he eaten than he slept. We have made it negative by using this transformation. Next one, not only but also. Remember students, two things, and then not only before the first thing but also in place of and. We've already done this. She played cricket and hockey. If you remember, we've taken the same sentence. She played not only cricket but also hockey. We have made it negative with that. Next one, remove if or unless. Now students, if you remember, there were three rules. Okay, here if you work you will succeed. Now I can say unless you work you will not succeed. So remember, if equal to unless plus not, unless equal to if plus not, and unless and never can be equal to if and only. These were the three formulas. Now here we've used one of them to make affirmative to negative. And finally, we have removed to. Now how do we do that? Here, we are too thrilled to express it in words. Here it's affirmative. Now we can say we are so thrilled that we cannot express it in words. Students, we've done this also. Remember we said to plus adjective plus infinitive becomes so plus that plus adjective plus a negative. So you can make negative with the help of that. Students, once again, we have learned all these transformations in the previous modules. Now, all the above methods can be used in the reverse order in order to change from negative to affirmative. We have seen affirmative to negative. Just reverse the method and it will become negative to affirmative. That's simple, students. Now, we'll go on to the exercise.